Welcome to week one's PowerPoint. So what is an environment? The environment is really the area in which something exists. It's the totality or the surrounding. It's where everything exists and lives. So what does that include? What does it look like? And it is really the richness and the stimulation of the environment. And that is what we really want to watch for. So you want to watch for colors and textures, the medium and the material of what's going on in the environment. You don't want things to be so overstimulating that children are, acting out or not engaging in their environment because of how we have created it. You really want children to have ownership and to see themselves reflected within their environment, and that pulls out a lot of their culture. So in the next week or two, you will see that assignment coming out as well, and how you can reflect more on that. So what is an environment? So when you think of an environment, what comes to your mind? And a lot of you think of outdoors and that kind of thing. And so how do you bring the outdoors in? And that is primarily what we want to do in a lot of cases, because natural elements are calming to most people. And so when we bring those into our indoor environments, it relaxes and calms children. So children should have places just like the ones that you remember or you enjoy as a child. And with a lot of, the licensing regulations and early achievers and all those other entities that you can think of, we've kind of developed this kind of plastic bubble effect, putting the child in a plastic bubble to keep them safe. And we're reversing the good of what we should be doing. Children really need to be able to take risks and get outside and get dirty. And so through this course, you're going to learn different ways that we can not only help them to take risks and help them to get dirty and build an environment that is safe for them, and kind of balance those two aspects. So each environment should have places for group learning, not only large group learning, but small group learning. You need to have breakout spaces, little alcoves and places where children can be alone. I often tell people that, humans were not made to be herded. We are not sheep or cattle. We weren't made to be together all the time, and yet we expect our children to be together in a group and move as a group all day long. As adults, we get breaks. We get 10-minute breaks, we get lunch breaks, we get time to go and decide whether or not we want to go in our car and be alone, or go for a drive, or go for a walk, or go sit in a break room and actually talk to somebody else. And we kind of get those decisions. But as children, they don't get that decision. And so a way to give them that is to give them little spaces where they can actually, get a book or not get a book and just be by themselves and get that space to be all on their own. So you need table space, table groupings, whether or not it's for puzzles or for board games or that kind of thing. There's a lot of social learning that goes into that. Different brain stimulation. You also need to have an environment within the class that will have its own characteristic or feel. Just as no child is like another child, no classroom is going to be like any other classroom. That includes from one teacher to one teacher, or from one year to the next year. You are all unique teachers, therefore your classroom is going to be unique. Each group of children that comes into your classroom is unique, and therefore your class is going to have a different feel and a different look to it each year. you have a different group of children. And so it kind of moves and flows almost as a fluid motion, and it's different, and it should be different. There shouldn't be cookie cutter classrooms that are all the same and everybody looks the same. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be good and different. As you also go through this course, I'll be uploading different PowerPoints full of pictures. Know that those pictures in there are not necessarily ideas of what I feel is fabulous or fantastic, or you have to copy it and it's a must-have. Know that they're just ideas. They're just environments that I've come across over my 26 years experience. And some are good, some are bad, some are, I don't have a feeling one way or another about them. But they might spark ideas for you. Teachers are great copiers. Sometimes we like room colors. Sometimes we like the way things are arranged, or we like how they put a plant in a certain location. It could be as simple as that. Sometimes we fall in love with the whole layout, and that can be okay too. We can match the same styles, but know that it may not work for every group of children as well, and so sometimes we have to change that based on the group of children we have. So little additions make a big change. This goes into removing plastic. The more plastic you have in an environment, the more your children are going to be active, a lot more energy, a lot more hyper, I would say. And that is because there's not the natural elements in there to soak up their natural energy. Plastic repels their energy, and there's nothing in there to absorb it. And so the more plastic you have in an environment, the more your children are going to feel like they're bouncing off the walls and they can't settle into activities or projects. So by replacing them with things like baskets or wooden bowls or things like that, you can help eliminate some of the chaotic that your classroom can feel like at times. Adding framed photos of your children or your families or walks or outings that you go on to helps children have that added sense of ownership. When they have that added sense of ownership to their classroom, they're more likely to respect it, take care of it, clean it up easier, things like that. Adding plants can have a huge impact on the environment, as not only it gives, it helps in a sense bring the outdoors in because it's, plant reflected with outdoors, but it gives children some responsibility with helping water. I suggest a spray bottle because if you're actually using water, cups of water, they get overwatered, they drown. So spray bottles are best when you're having children help. But it also gives some of that green and natural elements in there and just livens up your classroom. Fresh air. And these can also change. These small changes can also give children a sense of pride in their classroom. They feel good about it. They know that when you care about it, then they care about it as well. So these are some of the basket ideas. The bigger the basket, the harder for them to manage. So sometimes it's good to have smaller baskets that they can manage. Potted plants, and then wooden frames. Frames are another great way to bring in culture. I've had teachers in the past who have also decided to allow families or ask families to bring in a standard, I think the standard size is like 4 by 6.5 or something like that. So the standard size frames, and each family will bring in a totally different frame based on, their likes or dislikes, or how they may decorate their home or that kind of thing. And that's a way for them to bring in their culture into the classroom. Some teachers don't like that because they don't like the non-conformity or the kind of mismatched frames within their classroom, and so it's hard for them to deal with. They'd rather have all matching frames within their classroom, and that's really a personal decision. You need to decide that on your own. So I've seen it both ways. I've seen teachers go out and get all wooden frames that match, and I've seen teachers say, you know what, I would like parents to each bring in their own frame so they can bring in their home culture that way. But just know that you might have ones that, you know, are maybe zebra print or glittered, or maybe wooden or dark, or and may not necessarily match with anything in your classroom. So minimum licensing requirements. So Dell changes their minimum, Dell is the Department of Early Learning, changes their minimum licensing requirements quite often. You can find an updated version on the del.wa.gov website. I should probably put that on Canvas for you, so I will. And we will look into that a little bit this week and what some of those environment laws, rules, and regulations are. So really looking at what they pertain to. Okay, so minimum license requirements. Remember, these are minimums. They are not anything but that. They are absolute minimums. You want to try to exceed that, and that's what Early Achievers has done, is trying to make you exceed that. And so do you know what it takes to get to the next step? And that's normally Early Achievers being nationally accredited through NIAC, the National Association for Education for Young Children, or through the National Association for Family Child Care can also accredit family child care providers. So environments can affect our mood, our ability to form relationships, effectiveness in work and play, our health. And so children's environments are important for two reasons. Young children are in the process of rapid brain development, and the time they spend in these environments is more than they will spend in elementary or secondary school combined. So these are critical environments, and we really need to spend the time to invest in building these environments and act like that we care with what we put in there, and take some time for our children. So children are always actively learning. So they're trying to make sense of the world around that, and we need to make sure that we are taking that into consideration when we are putting things out. Things should be hands-on, not hands-off. Children need to be able to build their own hypothesis of what's going on, keeping them through social interaction, physical manipulation, and their own thought processes. So well-designed environments offer multiple hands-on opportunities. You want them to be age appropriate, okay, especially for those toddlers. You want them to be able to dump and fill. I know that's hard for some of you to hear, but if they don't get that dump and fill, dump and fill, dump and fill throughout the day, if they don't get that, it's a developmental stage. And if they don't get that when they're toddlers, then when they move up to the preschool room, they're going to want to dump and fill. And your preschool teachers are not going to be happy that they didn't get that stage out when they were a toddler. So we need to have the environment set up that they are allowed to do that.